So another important question to ask when we're talking about deforestation is what sorts of benefits do we derive from forests? Or more particularly, what parts of our lives are made possible by forests? Well, us humans derive two types of benefits: forest-derived products and also ecosystem services. Now, forest-derived products are more of on a smaller scale, and these help sustain people's livelihoods. Here I'm referring more to forest-dependent communities. And this wood here is used for cooking, construction of homes, and may also have some sort of religious or cultural significance. On a larger scale, wood can be seen as a commodity and traded on a global scale. And here wood is used for the making of furniture and also paper. Now, when I'm talking about ecosystem services, these are resources and processes that are provided to us by the natural ecosystem. And there are plenty of these types of services. For example, forests help protect the topsoil and also add nutrients into the soil. They also house and protect various types of biodiversity. And thirdly, most famously, forests are known as the lungs of the earth, and they have the ability to mediate climate. But when forests are cut down, they release huge amounts of CO2 emissions into the air, and this has the ability to change climates. And there we have climate change, to make it warmer, and this causes severe problems as well. Now, let's go over some of the causes of deforestation, shall we? Now, just to get a general sense from everybody, what are some general, or what do some people here think are some of the major driving forces of deforestation? Okay, so we have population and diet. I just heard that. What are some other ones? Okay, I heard small-scale agriculture. Maybe one more. Wood for fuel, okay? Wood for fuel. Great. Thanks to those who offered their responses. I think it's really interesting to think about how people perceive the causes of climate change. And it's really important to note that a lot of research has been done over the last couple of years that has sought to counter more dominant understandings of why deforestation happens. And one of the major newer findings has been to counter the belief that small-scale agriculture is one of the biggest driving forces of deforestation. Before, techniques such as slash and burn cultivation was really seen as one of the major points of driving forces of deforestation. But now, newer research has actually revealed that large-scale agriculture and also the timber industry is one of the major driving forces of deforestation. So to this list, I'd like to add just a few more newer revealed causes of deforestation. We have cattle and pasture. We have the timber industry. We have the construction of roads. Also, for the purpose of biofuels, palm oil and soybean as well. And also, for example, there's been another interesting driving force revealed, and that is war. In the reading that I've supplied for all of you this week by Krunkelspin and also Drowlands, they point to war as a major cause of deforestation in Africa. So just kind of after looking at the benefits of forests and looking at sort of these major causes, these result in major impacts. And I'll just quickly go over some of these major impacts of negative impacts of deforestation. For example, the loss of culture and spiritual significance, loss of livelihood, loss of land. Another issue that has come up more recently is loss of food sovereignty as well. Loss of biodiversity, that is something I mentioned earlier. And also, interestingly enough, that was something else that was covered in one of the readings for this week by Wilcox and Ellis. They point to the increasing exposure to infectious diseases as well as a result of climate change. Now, let's talk about responses and forest management. Now, major efforts have been followed or have been carried out by many countries who have taken the concept or the global change of deforestation very, very seriously. And some of these have actually resulted in very positive effects. Deforestation in the US and China has significantly slowed down, as an FAO report showed just last year. Now, some of the responses that have been taken or have been pursued by various countries and agencies have centered around more financial or economic mechanisms as an incentive to keep intact forest and to reduce degradation. And these are some of the most controversial methods carried out. So I'm going to be talking about one of the most controversial, and that is known as the RED program. Now, the RED program is an extremely sophisticated and complicated program, but I'll just briefly outline what RED, or RED Plus as it's now called, is all about. Now, RED is a way of curbing CO2 emissions by paying particular countries that are well endowed in forests to preserve them and to keep them intact. And this process can happen in two ways. Number one, this can happen through carbon trading, or another way it can happen is by richer countries, normally located in the global north, can allocate funds to the other countries, normally located in the global south, to create an incentive for them to keep their forests intact. Now, many support the project of RED because it appears as a cheaper alternative to curb CO2 emissions, as opposed to creating more large-scale alternative energy projects or also implementing carbon capturing. But with any large-scale coordinated effort in response to global change, there are many downfalls and there are many points of contention, and RED here is no different. Now, some of the points of contention are as follows. For example, many members of civil society groups have said that RED is almost like a free ticket. So companies don't have to change their behaviors or anything. They can go about their business as usual and don't have to change their ways of operations or reduce their emissions at all. Also, RED has been further criticized as weakening already very vulnerable resource rights and also access rights to forests from forest-dependent communities. And this is because RED payments are for the purpose of keeping forests intact, and the program makes very little distinction between disturbances made by, let's say, companies and also by forest-dependent communities. Finally, another critique is that the RED program can have major impacts on food supplies and water. And this is because the RED program does prevent or slow down large-scale agricultural expansion, which to some people is a good thing. But at the same time, it also inhibits small-scale producers from growing their own food and thus from feeding their communities. So I'm just about done my lecture here right now, so we'll go for about a 5 or 10 minute break, and then we'll come back and I'll be assigning our next assignment for the term.